Katie, let me just start with you. As the prosecution gets closer and closer to wrapping up its case, what's it looking like?
It's looking like they got across the finish line, number one, a lot more quickly than we all thought. Recall that at the beginning, we thought this trial was going to last anywhere from 6 weeks, if not more. And so if you're sitting in that jury, Allie, you are happy to hear, well, they didn't hear, but you'll be happy to hear when they say that the state rests its case. And why is that important? Because next week is only 3 days of court. Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, purportedly Friday for Barron Trump's graduation, which is a whole other story. But if that is the case, and you started with David Pecker and you end with Michael Cohen, then you're adhering to a tried and true philosophy of primacy, recency. You start strong, you end strong. And with that, you make the most impactful presentation. And with Michael Cohen, of course, we know we got to take him warts and all. But he has testified in a way that has been corroborated by, as you say, the paper trail that doesn't lie. And so the prosecution promised in its opening a very clean, tight chronology supported by the evidence. And what we've seen is the documentary evidence and the testimonial evidence that proves its case. Okay, a clean, tight chronology that follows the evidence, Adam. That's important. It's important probably in any trial. But as it relates to Michael Cohen, here's the difficulty. He has been shown to have perjured himself. He has been very open about it. He's written books about it. And the point here is that because he has lied in the past does not necessarily mean he is lying in this instance.
Absolutely. And one thing that has been said a lot about testimony about Michael Cohen in this case, people have pointed out that folks have denigrated Michael Cohen. Now, that understates it. Michael Cohen has been roasted for this moment, and I would suggest that is not an accident. Let's review the testimony of Hope Hicks. She said, when asked whether it would be out of character for Michael Cohen to give, to just do a favor, to pay the money on Trump's behalf, that'd be out of character, because I don't know Michael to be an especially charitable person or a selfless person. He's the kind of person that seeks credit. And one thing that has to be said about this line of testimony, it turns one of Michael Cohen's vulnerabilities into an asset. It's a mark of credibility. Right. You have to trust this guy because he's totally totally selfish, and he would never do this on Trump's behalf out of the goodness of his heart. Another quote that was said during the testimony of Keith Davidson. In any event, Gina called me up to tell me some jerk called me and was very, very aggressive and threatened to sue me. And I would like to tell you, Keith, to call this jerk back. The prosecutor, Joshua Steinglass, said, I hate to ask it this way, but who was that jerk? Michael Cohen. Now, I believe the prosecutor did not hate to ask it that way. It is a way to say, yes, Michael Cohen has these vulnerabilities, but it's these very vulnerabilities that shows that you can trust him, along with, of course, the wealth of corroborating evidence, the phone records that you showed. And in addition to that, there was another custodial witness showing Trump's tweet, showing that this was the arrangement. And one more thing that I want to quickly make a point of. At the beginning of the trial, Todd Blanche made a strong bet in saying that the $420,000 weren't reimbursements. We had a third piece of evidence, a third admission from Trump saying in the tweet that it was a reimbursement. And he said that twice before in records that got into evidence.
Katie, Phang, Michael Cohen is crucial to this case, and the prosecution maintaining Michael Cohen's integrity as a witness is crucial because for all the reasons we just discussed. But the big star of the case in the last week was Stormy Daniels, and I would love to get your evaluation of how she performed.
Well, Stormy Daniels went in, I think, with a lot of people in America making some very big assumptions and judgments about who she is because of her professional choices, right? And listen, if that's what you think, that's what you think. But in a court of law, and you actually have a person who takes an oath to tell the truth and they sit in the witness stand, that oath is the same, Allie, for every person, regardless of what you choose to do as a job. And I think what backfired for the defense was you thought maybe using a female lawyer like Susan Nicholas would maybe take the edge off if you're aggressively cross-examining. And listen, I've done it in my career, right? As a trial lawyer, I've, been the one who had to cross-examine a female witness. But in this instance, it backfired because to to slut shame Stormy Daniels was a huge mistake. Why? Because that just further buttressed the idea that that is why Donald Trump wanted to hide it from America, right? So it was interesting because Adam's point, sometimes you take a weakness and you spin it and you pivot it and you make it a strength. And in this instance, the fact that there was this maybe insinuation, if not outright suggestion from the defense, that there was something wrong or flawed with Stormy Daniels because of what she does for a living, of course, then that would be the reason why somebody like Donald Trump would want to hide that so that it wouldn't hurt his campaign. And so people like Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen, whether you like them or not, whether you think they're flawed or not, they create those bridges that are necessary for the prosecution to link things, to make the story make sense. When both sides got up in opening and Adam talked about promises that were made, you can bet your bottom dollar that jury paid attention to the promises that were made, not only by the prosecution, but by the defense. And so when you get to closings and both sides gets to make argument to the jury, that prosecution is going to weave it all together, and it's going to make more sense for the prosecution than it is for the defense.
And so, Adam, you know, with Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen, the similarity is the degree to which the prosecution, the defense would like to undermine them, either because of the character or past acts, or, as Katie says, what Stormy Daniels does for a living. She seemed remarkably at ease. Whether or not you wish to believe her or not, or what you think about her, her demeanor in court seemed to support her credibility.
Absolutely. She was cool and confident. Now, when she started testimony, one of the interesting things that I've remarked about in the past, when she started her testimony, she was a little bit nervous. She had to be told to slow down during the prosecutor's direct examination. When it came to be fight time, when Susan Nicholas got out there, that's when she was cool, confident, in her element. You can kind of see her sliding back in her seat, throwing line, quip after quip, very witty. And I think that this is, if she got the experience, got the cool collectedness from experience with it, look out for that with Michael Cohen, because he's been to this rodeo before. We talked before during the civil fraud trial when he testified. And so this is his second turn at it. He knows what the Trump defense is going to throw. He also
shows up on our shows, on my shows very often, and will always fess to what he has done. He's become very comfortable with that idea. So no one, Katie's going to surprise Michael Cohen with the, you know, you did this, you lied to Congress. He knows chapter and verse about what he did and is comfortable talking about it.
Yeah, and you know what? Look, I mean, for somebody like Michael Cohen, this is truly the end of it, right? I mean, there may be other issues that may come up for him later on, but this is what he's been waiting for. This is what all of that testimony was for. This is what everything that he's done to make sure that he's done his redemption tour. This is what it's for. But it doesn't mean, Ali, that the entire case rests on Michael Cohen. I think that is a huge fallacy that the defense is going to go into thinking, as well as maybe a lot of people in the American public. But the prosecution does not completely rely wholesale on Michael Cohen. It is not the success linchpin for that case, because there's so much more independent, objective, corroborating evidence that has nothing to do with Michael Cohen that we have seen come in through relatively innocuous witnesses like custodians of records that you heard from today, cell phone records, banking records, etc. I mean, Ali, can you not get out of your mind the Essential Consultants LLC bank statement with Alan Weisselberg's writing on it? I mean, why take out a HELOC? Why take out a HELOC unless you were doing it for Trump?